This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com, and this is UFO related news, but also Canadian politic related news. And I guess this man was a great loss to Canada. I'm actually horrified to hear about this. The Honorable Paul Hellyer passed away on August the 8th, 2021, at the age of 98. I just found this out literally because I interviewed him 4 years ago this week, and it popped up as a Facebook memory. And he hadn't returned my messages in a while, so I thought I would check in on him. And through my searches on him, I found out that he had passed. Now, he is a former Canadian Minister of National Defense. He's the longest serving member of the Queen's Privy Council for Canada. He was a member of Parliament for a very long time. He was an author. He was a reporter. He wrote articles. But most of all, he is, at the time he first came out about UFOs being real, when he said UFOs are as real as the airplanes that fly in the sky. And by the way, he was also a pilot. Highly credible person, hence the name the Honorable in front of his name. He was the first highest ranking official to speak on the record on the subject of UFOs. And for the people that were always saying, oh, he was just doing that for publicity, blah, 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 blah. He only has been talking about this for around a decade or so. And he's passed away now. And he was rich. I did the interview with him at his penthouse on the lakefront harbor of his downtown Toronto apartment. And I know he also had a cottage, I believe, in the Muskoka area. This man was busy right up until the time of his death. I remember I became interested in UFOs around 2013 when it came out in the Canadian media. CBC reported that the government of Canada is admitting that there's more and more UFO activity happening. However, it said in this report that the government was going to leave it up to amateur researchers and scientists to research it on its own and not do any of their own research. And I found this incredible, because how can you not be concerned about unidentified flying objects in your airspace, which is a security breach, and you're just going to leave it up to amateurs to research it? And I actually asked Paul Hellyer about that in the interview, and he said it was a load of bullshit, that they're ignoring the increased activity. Now, I don't agree with absolutely everything that he talked about, and some of it I'm not that much researched in. Like, he was one of the people that believed 9/11, there was more to it, and he talked about that in the interview. Now, I'm no expert on that, nor do I claim to be. He also, although he did a lot of his own research, sometimes he took people's word on certain things, and he wasn't talking about it from firsthand experience. Before it came out Israeli official last December or so claimed there was a alleged galactic federation of aliens. Paul Hellyer talked about that in his 2017 interview with me. So, while I don't know anything about that really, and that's definitely stuff that I would need to do a lot more research on. Paul Hellyer collaborated Israeli officials' story about this alleged galactic federation. And for the people that like will say that that's all bullshit, I don't know. All I know is we had two high-ranking government officials talking about it. And why I was saying he was sharp until the end and busy until the end, why I was bringing up, I found out about this in 2013. In my research, I was always looking for credible people. He was one of the first people that was really popping out in my research as highly credible. And I realized he lived in Toronto, only about 4 or 5 hours from me, depending on traffic. So around 2014, I started to try to get an interview with him. And it literally took years for me to convince him to do an interview. I was harassing him for years. So this is why it was my favorite interview to date. Paul Hellyer was my favorite interview of any genre, because he might be the highest ranking official I ever talked to. Hopefully one day I can interview a former president or a former prime minister, but for now he's the highest. But why I was saying how long it took me to get him to do the interview, finally he agreed on a date. And it was for like, I believe it was something like August 10th or something, 2017, or August 11th or 12th. One of those days. I can check back on my Facebook post. August the 12th, 2017 was the date that I did the interview with him. And I did it at precisely 7 a.m. in the morning. And why I find that interesting, that was like a Sunday, because I had wrestled the night before. And I remember I had stayed up all night and driven all night. I actually wrestled in Montreal the night before, where I defeated Tom Lawler, former UFC fighter. And the night before that, I beat Wes Briscoe in Ottawa. But anyways, I found it interesting that 6 months in advance, he's going to plan this interview on a weekend at precisely 7 in the morning. That's how busy the guy's schedule was. And literally, I got there early. I showed up. He answered his door right on time. And he was very busy. He gave me amount of time to do the interview. I'm usually very careful with guests to keep it within the timeframes they tell me. However, Mr. Hellyer, who did the interview for free, by the way, I knew this was probably going to be my only chance at interviewing him. So I kept it going longer. And you can see it. He starts to look at his watch towards the end to give me the sign. It's time to wrap it up. But I really love this guy. And I'm very, very sad, even though he was 98. I'm really sad to hear that he passed away, because I have so much respect for him. And I'm so honored that I got to interview him.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us